Commander Jun Kim stared at the blinking light on his scanner. It had been 3 weeks since their expedition arrived on Mars, and most of the team was losing hope. They'd found nothing but dust and rocks in this particular region near Olympus. "Mons, sir, you might want to see this," called Sujin, the team's geologist. Her voice cracked with excitement over the comm system. Jun made his way through the narrow tunnel they'd excavated. The Martian soil crunched beneath his boots. He found Sujin kneeling by what looked like a metal panel embedded in the rock wall. "That's not natural," he muttered, touching the smooth surface. It was cool despite the heated excavation area. "And it's definitely not from any of our previous missions." Within hours, the entire team was working to clear away the surrounding regolith. By the end of the day, they had uncovered what appeared to be a massive door, 20 meters high and twice as wide. Strange symbols were etched into its surface, symbols that matched no known language from Earth or any discovered alien script. "Can we open it?" asked Hyun, the mission's engineer, his breath fogging his helmet as he examined the edges of the door. "We should wait for authorization," Jun said, but his words lacked conviction. The discovery was too important, too extraordinary. It took them 3 days to figure out the mechanism. When the giant door finally slid open with a groan that reverberated through their suits, they stood in stunned silence. The hangar beyond was vast, stretching at least a kilometer into the Martian crust, illuminated by lights that flickered to life as if responding to their presence. And there it was, a ship. Not a spacecraft like anything humanity had built, but a massive vessel that dwarfed even the largest space stations in Earth orbit. Its hull was dark and sleek, marked with the same strange symbols they'd found on the door. "This isn't Martian," whispered Ju-won, the team's xenobiologist. "Look at the design. It's built for humans, the doorways, the control interfaces. These were made for human hands, human proportions." Jun approached a console near what appeared to be an entry ramp. As he ran his gloved hand over its surface, the ship hummed to life. Displays flickered on, showing information in a language that seemed almost like ancient Sanskrit, but with differences that made it unreadable. "Sir," called Hyun from inside the ship. "I found something. There's a date stamp on one of the internal panels. If I'm reading this correctly, this ship is over 50,000 years old." The implications were staggering. Human civilization as they knew it only went back about 10,000 years. If this ship was built by humans, it meant everything they thought they knew about human history was wrong. Over the next few days, they carefully explored the vessel. They found sleeping quarters designed for humans, weapon systems of incredible power, and engines that appeared to be capable of faster-than-light travel. Technology that modern humans had only developed in the last 30 years. "We need to call this in," Jun finally said, after they documented everything they could. "Earth needs to know." The response from Earth was immediate. Within a week, a special team arrived to help with the investigation. They brought linguists who began deciphering the strange script, revealing the vessel's name, Harbinger. "It's not just a ship," explained Yuna, the lead linguist, her eyes bright with excitement. "It's a warship, one of many, according to these records, built by an advanced human civilization that existed long before any recorded history." The most surprising discovery came when they found a sealed chamber deep within the ship. Inside was a data core containing historical records. As they began to translate them, a shocking story emerged. Humans had once been a spacefaring race, with colonies across the galaxy. They had been members of something called the Galactic Council, the very same organization that Earth had only recently made contact with. But something had happened. Some catastrophe that had sent the survivors fleeing back to Earth, abandoning their technology and starting over. The Council doesn't know, Jun realized as they pieced together the story. They think we're newcomers to space travel. 3 months after their initial discovery, as Earth's representatives prepared for their first major summit with the Galactic Council, a decision was made. The Harbinger, now partially restored and capable of spaceflight, would make the journey to the Council's meeting place. "They've been treating us like children," said Director Park during the final briefing. "Let's show them what their children found in the attic." As the massive ancient warship prepared to leave Mars orbit, Jun stood on the bridge, now fitted with modern interfaces to supplement the ancient systems. He felt a strange mix of pride and apprehension. They were about to shake the foundations of galactic politics, course set for the Galactic Council station, reported Hune from the navigation console. Ready when you are, Commander. June nodded, feeling the weight of 50,000 years of forgotten human history on his shoulders. Take us out, he said. Let's go introduce ourselves. Again. The Galactic Council chamber was huge, a vast circular space with seats rising in tiers like an ancient Roman Colosseum. Representatives from over 200 worlds sat in their designated areas, each species with their unique requirements: atmospheric bubbles for water breathers, gravity adjusters for heavy worlders, and temperature zones for those from extreme environments. Minji Park stood at the human delegation's platform, her heart racing. After 6 months of preparation since the discovery on Mars, this moment would change humanity's standing in galactic politics forever. She glanced over at the rest of the Earth team, 6 diplomats and scientists, and behind them, the military escort led by Admiral Lee. The Council recognizes the delegation from Earth, announced the Aldaran chairperson, his blue-scaled face displayed on giant screens throughout the chamber. The Aldarans had dominated Council politics for 3 centuries and treated humanity like children since first contact just 5 years ago. Thank you, Chairperson, Minji said, her voice steady despite her nerves. Earth appreciates this opportunity to address the Galactic Council. A ripple of polite murmurs swept through the chamber. Most delegates viewed humans as amusing primitives, newcomers who had only achieved faster-than-light travel within the last few decades. You requested this extraordinary session to present what you called a historical artifact of galactic significance, the chairperson continued, his tone conveying boredom. The Council has many pressing matters. I hope this will not waste our time. Minji smiled. I believe you'll find it worth your attention. With your permission, our artifact has just arrived in the Council space dock. We request clearance for approach. The Alderan frowned. A simple artifact requires special docking clearance? It's rather large, Minji said. Puzzled looks passed between Council members. The chairperson signaled to an aide who checked something on a screen before, whispering urgently in his ear. The Aldaran's eyes widened in alarm. There's an unregistered vessel approaching the station. Why wasn't I informed? He demanded. Because it's not unregistered, Minji replied calmly. It's our artifact. The chamber erupted in confusion as the main view screen switched to an external view. There, emerging from the swirling blue of hyperspace, came the Harbinger. Even after months of restoration, the ancient warship retained its imposing presence, a kilometer-long arrow of dark metal covered in strange geometric patterns. By the eternal void, gasped a representative from the Plex Confederation. That's impossible. The chamber fell silent as the massive ship maneuvered gracefully into position near the station. It dwarfed the Council's defensive cruisers, which now buzzed around it like nervous insects. What is the meaning of this? The chairperson demanded, his scales flaring in anger. Bringing an armed vessel to a council meeting is a serious violation of protocol. The Harbinger's weapons systems are dormant, Minji explained. It's here as an exhibit only in our artifact. You see, we've made a discovery that changes everything we thought we knew about human history. She tapped her datapad, and holographic displays throughout the chamber activated, showing interior scans of the vessel and translation of its strange markings. This ship was built by humans, she continued, over 50,000 years ago. The statement hit the chamber like a physical force. Several delegates stood up in protest, others demanded verification, while some simply stared in shock. Preposterous, shouted the Cygarian delegate. Your species barely had stone tools 50,000 years ago. That's what we thought too, Minji replied. But the evidence is irrefutable. DNA scanners confirm the ship was designed for human biology. Its language has roots in Proto-Indo-European, and its star charts match our galaxy from 50 millennia. First, the Aldaran chairperson's eyes narrowed. If what you claim is true, why have we never encountered evidence of this ancient human civilization? Minji's smile faded. That's the mystery we're still solving, but there's more. The ship's database references something called the Galactic Council, the very organization we stand before today. A new wave of murmurs swept the chamber. "Are you suggesting," asked a tall, slender delegate from the Trill hegemony, "that humans were once members of the Council?" "Not just members," Minji said. "According to the ship's records, humans were founding members." The Council chamber exploded into chaos. Delegates shouted over each other, demanding proof or declaring human deception. The Aldaran chairperson pounded his gavel for order, but the shock was too great. From her position, Minji watched as centuries of assumptions crumbled. The primitives from Earth were not newcomers to the galactic stage. They were returners, heirs to a legacy most had forgotten. Admiral Lee stepped up beside her. "Well," he whispered, "you certainly got their attention." "Phase 1 complete," Minji replied quietly. "But look at the Aldarans." The blue-scale delegates were huddled together, their body language showing not just shock but something else. Fear. "They know something," Minji said. "Something about our past they don't want us to discover." As if on cue, the chairperson finally restored order. His voice, previously condescending, now carried an edge of concern. "The Council will require extensive verification of these extraordinary claims," he announced. "We demand full access to this vessel for independent analysis." Minji nodded. "Of course, but there's one more thing you should know." She paused, letting tension build. "The Harbinger isn't unique. It's just the first we've found. As delegates processed this new shock, Minji's communication device pinged softly. Dr. Hana Lee's message was brief but momentous. Harbinger's AI core is responding to activation sequences. It's waking up. The game was changing faster than anyone had anticipated. Humanity's place in the stars would never be the same. Dr. Hana Lee sat in the center of the Galactic Council's interrogation chamber, feeling very small, despite her impressive credentials. The room was circular, with tiered seating rising up all around her like a fishbowl turned inside out. Representatives from 200 worlds stared down at her, their expressions ranging from skeptical to openly hostile. "Let us begin," said the Aldaran chairperson, his blue scales catching the light as he moved. "You claim that humans built the warship Harbinger over 50,000 years ago. That is quite extraordinary." Hana nodded, trying to keep her voice steady. "Yes, the evidence is conclusive." "Is it?" The chairperson's voice dripped with doubt. "Please enlighten us." Taking a deep breath, Hana activated her presentation. Holographic displays lit up around the chamber, showing detailed scans and data from the ancient vessel. "First, the biological evidence," she began. "Every aspect of the ship, from the size of doorways to the shape of control interfaces, was designed specifically for human physiology. DNA traces recovered from sealed compartments. Match Homo sapiens exactly," a squat gray-skinned delegate interrupted. "DNA can be falsified, which is why we have linguistic evidence as well," Hana continued calmly. "The ship's language shares root structures with Proto-Indo-European, one of Earth's oldest language families. Our team has managed to translate approximately 60% of the text so far." She projected examples on the screens, showing the connections between the ancient script and Earth languages. Several linguistic experts among the delegates leaned forward, their interest clearly piqued. "Most compelling is the astronomical data," Hana said. "The ship's star charts match our galaxy perfectly, but show the positions of stars as they were 50,000 years ago, accounting for stellar drift. This couldn't possibly be faked without access to astronomical data going back millennia." The council chamber grew quieter as delegates whispered among themselves. "If what you say is true," asked a tall, willowy delegate with iridescent skin, "then why do your history books not mention this advanced civilization? Where did they go? Where is their technology?" It was the question Hana had been dreading. "We don't know yet," she admitted, "but the ship's database contains references to some kind of catastrophe, something that sent survivors back to Earth, abandoning their technology and starting over." The chairperson's eyes narrowed. "Convenient. That there is no evidence except this lone ship." "Actually," Hana said, "the ship's records specifically mention the Galactic Council, this very organization, as being already established when humans were spacefaring. Some records even suggest humans were founding members." This statement caused an uproar. The chairperson pounded his gavel for order. "That is impossible," he shouted over the noise. "The Council's records go back 12,000 years. There is no mention of humans." "Records can be altered," said Hana, using his own logic against him. A hush fell over the chamber. From the back row, an ancient delegate stood up. Her species was known for their longevity. Some lived for thousands of years. Her skin was wrinkled and pale, and her voice creaked like old wood. "There are legends," she said slowly. "Stories told to younglings. Tales of the forgotten ones who vanished from the stars long ago." The council members turned to stare at her. "Mere children's tales," dismissed the chairperson. "Perhaps," she replied. "But in the oldest versions, the forgotten ones were described as walking on two legs with no scales or fur, seeing only visible light and breathing only oxygen." Hana felt a chill run down her spine. The description matched humans perfectly. "Myths and legends prove nothing," the chairperson insisted. Hana stood up straighter. "Then allow me to provide something more concrete." She nodded to Admiral Kang, who had been standing silently at the back of the chamber. He pressed a button on his wrist device. The lights in the chamber flickered momentarily. Then a new hologram appeared in the center of the room, a three-dimensional star map showing hundreds of points of light. "These are coordinates found in the Harbinger's database," Hana explained. "Locations of other human outposts and installations from 50,000 years ago." The delegates murmured in surprise. "We've only had time to check 3 of these locations," she continued. 2 showed evidence of ancient structures matching the Harbinger's architectural style. The 3rd contained this. The hologram changed to show an object recovered from a distant moon, a metal cylinder covered in the same script as the Harbinger. "This data core contains technical specifications for 57 other vessels of the same class as the Harbinger," Hana said. "All built by humans, all hidden throughout the galaxy." The council erupted into confused debate. Species that had looked down on humans as primitive newcomers now regarded the Earth delegation with new eyes, some with respect, others with fear. The Alderan chairperson's face had darkened to a deep indigo, a sign of extreme stress in his species. "These claims require verification," he insisted, but his voice had lost its condescending edge. "The Council will dispatch experts to examine this evidence." "Of course," Hana agreed. "We welcome the scrutiny." As the session ended and delegates filed out, still arguing amongst themselves, Hana noticed something strange. The Aldaran representatives were huddled together, their body language tense. One made a gesture she recognized from her xenobiology studies, the Aldaran sign for ancient danger. They know something, she realized. Something they're not telling us. Back on the Harbinger, technicians had made a breakthrough. As Hana returned from the interrogation, Engineer Tay rushed to meet her. "We've activated part of the ship's AI core," he said excitedly. "It's responding to basic queries." Hana's heart raced. "What has it told you?" Tai's expression grew serious. "Not much yet, but it keeps repeating one phrase when we ask why humans abandoned space travel." "What phrase?" Hana asked. "It says, 'They are returning.'" Alarms blared throughout the human colony on Proxima Centauri B, painting the corridors in flashing red light. Technical engineer Taesong raced through the crowded hallway, dodging panicked civilians as he made his way to the command center. It had been 3 weeks since their confrontation with the Galactic Council, and everything had changed. "What's the situation?" Tay asked, breathless as he burst into the control room. Commander Jun looked up from the holographic display, his face grim. "The Aldaran fleet just dropped out of hyperspace. 26 warships, including 3 dreadnoughts." Tay stared at the tactical display. The Aldaran vessels had formed a blockade around the colony, cutting off all escape routes. "Have they made contact?" he asked. "Just did," said Communicati. ON's Officer Min, her voice tight with tension. "They're demanding we surrender the Harbinger and all research related to it. They claim we've violated some ancient treaty by activating the ship's systems." Jun snorted. "Convenient timing. Right. After we told the Council about it." The revelation of humanity's forgotten past had upended galactic politics overnight. Some Council species reached out with curiosity and offers of alliance. Others, led by the Aldarans, reacted with hostility and fear. "They're giving us 6 hours to comply," Min added. "And if we don't?" Tay asked, though he already knew the answer. "They didn't say," June replied, "but those weapons they're charging give us a pretty good hint." Tay looked around the room at the colony's leadership. Their faces showed a mixture of fear and determination. Humanity had only established 5 off-world colonies. If the Aldarans attacked, Earth couldn't hope to defend them all. "We need more time," Tay said. "I think I'm close to a breakthrough with the Harbinger's systems. There's something important in there, something the Aldarans don't want us to find." June nodded. "How much time do you need?" "As much as you can give me." The commander turned to Min. "Tell the Aldarans we're considering their demands and will respond within the 6-hour window. Then contact Earth. They need to know what's happening." As the others set to work, June pulled Tay aside. "What exactly are you hoping to find in that ancient ship?" Tay lowered his voice. "The AI core is gradually coming online. It keeps referencing something called the Return. I think that's why our ancestors abandoned space and hid their technology. They were running from something that might still be out there. And you think the Aldarans know about this?" "I'm certain of it. They're not trying to start a war, they're trying to keep us in the dark." Back aboard the Harbinger, now docked at the colony's main hangar, Tay worked frantically alongside his team. The ancient warship had been partially restored, but most of its systems remained locked or dormant. The AI core, a crystal matrix, unlike any technology humans currently possessed, flickered with intermittent awareness. "Run the activation sequence again," Tay instructed, wiping sweat from his brow. "This time use the new linguistic parameters Dr. Lee provided." His assistant nodded, inputting the commands. The ship's interior hummed, power fluctuating through systems that had lain dormant for 50 millennia. "Something's happening," she said, excitement in her voice. The holographic display above the main console shimmered and solidified into a human figure, a woman in an unfamiliar uniform, her expression solemn. "Identity confirmed," the hologram said, its voice eerily natural. "Emergency protocols activated." Tay stepped forward. "Who are you?" "I am the tactical interface for Warship Harbinger, designation Earth Fleet Alpha 7. My purpose is to provide guidance in times of crisis." "What crisis? What were you built to fight?" The hologram's expression darkened. "The Devourers. They come from beyond the galactic rim. They consume all sentient life. 50,000 years ago, they nearly succeeded in exterminating all spacefaring civilizations." Images appeared around them, terrible scenes of planets burning, strange ships of organic design tearing through defense fleets. "Our ancestors fought them?" Tay asked, horrified by the images. "Humanity led the final coalition," the AI confirmed. "At great cost, the Devourers were driven back. But our long-range scans determined they would return. The coalition fractured after the war. Some species, like the Aldarans, chose to deny the threat and erase all records of the conflict. And humans. Human leadership made a different choice. They knew that when the Devourers returned, they would target advanced civilizations first. The decision was made to hide our technology, return to Earth, and live as primitives until the danger had passed. "They gave up the stars to survive," Tay whispered. "To ensure humanity would survive," the AI corrected. "Ships like the Harbinger were hidden throughout the galaxy, each containing a fragment of our knowledge and technology, to be rediscovered when the time was right." Tay felt a chill. "And is the time right? Are they returning now?" The hologram nodded. "Long-range sensors activated upon my awakening have detected their scout ships at the edge of the galaxy. The main fleet will follow within 5 years." Suddenly the ship shuddered as alarms began to wail. "What's happening?" Tay demanded. His assistant checked the external sensors. "The Aldarans. They've opened fire on the colony's defensive shields." "They're not waiting for our answer," Tay realized. "They know we've activated the AI." The holographic woman turned to him, her expression resolute. "The Harbinger's defensive systems are now at your disposal. But this vessel alone cannot stand against the coming storm." "What can we do?" Tay asked. "There are others," the AI said. "Other ships like this one, hidden throughout the galaxy. Together, they form a network of beacons. If one is fully activated, it can signal the others." understanding dawned on Tay. That's what the Aldarans are afraid of. Not just us discovering our past, but waking up our old fleet. He made his decision, tapping his communicator. Commander June, the Aldarans aren't just afraid of what we might learn, they're afraid of what we might become. I need authorization. How to fully activate the Harbinger's systems? There was a pause, filled only by the sound of distant explosions. Do it, came June's reply. Tay turned to the AI. Show us how. As Alderan weapons fire pounded the colony's shields, Tay and his team worked to bring the ancient warship fully online. One by one, dormant systems flickered to life. Weapons, shields, and finally, a subspace transmitter unlike anything modern humans had created. Beacon network activating, the AI announced. Transmission commencing. Throughout the galaxy, on forgotten moons and hidden asteroid bases, dozens of ancient vessels began to wake from their long slumber. The game had changed, but whether humanity was now the hunter or the hunted remained to be seen. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council had never been so packed. Representatives from over 300 worlds crowded the massive chamber, their voices creating a steady hum of tension and anticipation. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Yoon Choi, Earth's chief diplomat, facing the assembled delegates with a calm she didn't entirely feel. Just 6 weeks had passed since the Aldaran attack on Proxima Colony. 6 weeks since the Harbinger had activated its beacon network. 6 weeks since humanity's forgotten legacy had awakened across the stars. The evidence can no longer be denied, Yoon declared, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall. The three key that our ancestors faced 50,000 years ago is returning. The Devourers are real, and they are coming for us all. Behind her, a massive holographic display showed sensor readings from the galaxy's outer rim. Strange energy signatures moved, slowly but deliberately, approaching from multiple vectors. These readings match exactly with the historical records recovered from our ancient fleet, she continued. Scout vessels, testing our defenses. The main invasion force follows behind. Them? An Aldaran diplomat rose from his seat, scales flashing angrily. More human lies. You activate forbidden technology, then invent a threat to justify your actions. Yoon didn't flinch. If we wanted war, Counselor, we would have launched it 3 weeks ago, when the 43rd Harbinger-class vessel was recovered from the Horsehead Nebula, or perhaps 2 weeks ago when the cache of weapons platforms was discovered in the Kuiper Belt. Instead, we stand before you offering alliance. The chamber grew quieter as she let her words sink in. Our ancestors chose to hide their technology and retreat to Earth, living as primitives to avoid detection by the Devourers. The Aldarans and others chose to erase all records of the previous war, believing that ignorance would protect them. Both approaches have failed. The enemy returns regardless. From the upper tiers, a representative of the Plex Confederation spoke. If what you say is true, why should we trust humans to lead? You were primitives mere decades ago. Now you claim to possess the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Yoon nodded at the fair question. We don't ask to lead alone. We ask for partnership. The ships our ancestors left us contain more than weapons. They contain knowledge. Historical. Records show that only a united galaxy stood any chance against the Devourers. Divided, we will fall one by one. She gestured, and the hologram changed to show a breathtaking sight. Dozens of Harbinger-class vessels in formation around a space station that had been hidden in Neptune's shadow until just weeks ago. Ancient Earth called this project Bulwark. Yoon explained, it was designed to be the last line of defense if all else failed. For 50,000 years it waited, powered down but preserved. Now it's active again, and it can coordinate the defense of not just Earth but every inhabited world. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Even the most skeptical delegates couldn't deny the impressive display of technology before them. The Aldaran chairperson raised his hand for silence. And what guarantees do we have that humans won't use this arsenal against the rest of us once the alleged threat is dealt with? Yoon had expected this. We propose 2 measures. First, joint command of the defensive fleet, with officers from all major council species serving aboard each vessel. Second, complete technological exchange. What we have learned from our ancestors will be shared with all alliance members. This caused a stir. Such an offer went against millennia of council tradition, where technological advantages were jealously guarded. "Why would you offer this?" asked a delicate crystalline being from the myriad cluster. "Because this isn't about power or politics," Hyun replied simply. "It's about survival. The Devourers don't discriminate, they consume all sentient life. If we don't stand together, none of us will stand at all." As debate erupted across the chamber, Yoon stepped back to where General Park waited. The commander of Earth's new ancient fleet stood tall in his formal uniform, watching the proceedings with a critical eye. "Will they believe us?" Yoon whispered. "Some already do," Day replied. "The others will come around when the first colony." World goes dark. Fear is a powerful motivator. I'd rather unite them with hope than fear, then give them something to hope for. Yoon nodded and stepped forward again, raising her hands for attention. When the chamber had quieted, she spoke with renewed determination. "Look at us," she said, gesturing around the room. 300 species, from worlds with different atmospheres, gravity, biology. We have different values, different beliefs, different goals, and yet here we stand in the same room, breathing the same air, talking to each other across the gulf of our differences. She paused, making eye contact with delegates from a dozen worlds. "That is our greatest weapon against the Devourers. They are singular, uniform, consuming everything unlike themselves. We are diverse, adaptable, stronger together precisely because of our differences. Our ancestors understood this. That's why they built a defense that required cooperation." The hologram changed again, showing intricate technical diagrams of the Harbinger fleet. Each ship class was designed to complement the others. No single design could defeat the enemy alone. They require coordination, teamwork, just as we do now. She could see her words taking effect, resistance softening across the chamber. "Let us transform this moment of crisis into opportunity," Yoon continued, "not just to survive the coming storm, but to emerge stronger. Imagine what we might accomplish if we combine the forgotten wisdom of the past with 50,000 years of separate development across hundreds of worlds." Even the Aldaran delegates were listening now, their earlier hostility replaced by grudging attention. Behind Yoon, a new alert flashed across the holographic display. General Day stepped forward, checking the data before whispering in her ear. "It's happening," he said softly. "Scout ships have breached the outer sensor net. 3 systems are reporting contact." Yoon took a deep breath before addressing the council again. "The moment of decision is upon us. While we debate, the first wave has arrived. 3 outlying systems are already reporting contact with vessels matching Devourer configurations." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. "They move faster than we anticipated," she admitted. "We have perhaps 1 standard year before the main invasion force arrives. Not much time to prepare, but enough. If we begin now." The Aldaran chairperson stood, his expression conflicted. For several tense moments, he seemed to struggle with himself. Then, to everyone's surprise, he bowed his head to Eun, the Aldaran. "Hegemony," he began, his voice strained, "acknowledges the threat. We will join your alliance." One by one, other species followed suit. Old enemies set aside ancient grudges in the face of mutual extinction. Within hours, the Defense Accord was drafted and signed by 2/3 of Council worlds. As the historic session concluded, Yoon found herself standing beside General Day at a viewport, watching stars shimmer against the black. "Our ancestors would be proud," she said quietly. "They would be terrified," Day corrected, "but yes, also proud. The cycle they began 50 millennia ago is complete. Humanity retreated to survive. Now we return to fight." Above them, the first joint species crews were already boarding the ancient vessels, preparing for the greatest war the galaxy had ever known. Humanity had shocked the Galactic Council with their forgotten warships, but the true shock was yet to come when the galaxy's diverse peoples